Alright, it is a Monday, 9:20 a.m., September the 13th, 2021, and this is the main watch list, at least for right now. ISWH could be a morning panic bounce play at any point because it's had at least 3 consistently nice green days in a row. It looks like it kind of had one on the 10th. I'm just kind of curious what that one was like. Which it was right here, the 10th. Yeah, this would have been kind of hard because it was later in the day. It wasn't in the morning. This one is also trying to, in theory, just do some kind of a breakout past this high level right here, and it's trying to hold through it. Maybe this is all it can do. Maybe it can do more, but it is a morning panic bounce play. If it has a clean one in the morning, that would be kind of nice. ILUS, there's also a potential morning panic bounce play. And I would prefer this one, even though it hasn't really had like 3 consistent green candles in a row. It's still pretty nice in terms of where it's, been at this 40 level now at, at 15 cents. So that's pretty impressive. It's just going to be another potential morning panic bounce play if we get any. We haven't really been having nice ones recently, so I do have to take that into consideration. And some of them are just kind of choppy, but in theory this one could be one too. I'll probably remove these two, AGGI, ETST. I haven't really seen these things like continue, for a follow-up day or anything like that. Maybe this is going to be the exception to the rule, but I'll have it and watch, but it'll probably just not continue an uptrend, and I'll have to remove them. That's really all I have. The only other thing that I would like to note is from my weekly recap. If I see like a morning panic bounce play in the future, not exactly the best case with something like this because the setup wasn't that nice with PBYA, but if we have in the future like we did right here, let me zoom in actually. This was a morning panic bounce play in theory, and here's the panic and everything, and then I took a buy. I believe there's a green candle. I sold because we had a red candle. I think I'll just make a new rule. It's obviously not an exact science, but if we have a red candle form, but it's still holding the support level or the risk level that I'm playing off of, and it doesn't, break it, I'll still hold the trade. But if it obviously breaks the support level, I will get out of it. I'll cut losses quickly, but if it then decides to uptrend even just a little from the high, which would have been right here, the ideal breakout level, if something like that happens, then I'll definitely consider selling if a red candle is formed, like it kind of did right here with this guy. So in theory, once again, morning panic bounce plays. If it has a red candle but it's still holding the risk level, I'll hold on to the trade. But if a red candle is formed after it starts some kind of an uptrend, which it did right here, I'll consider selling immediately. I think that will help me maybe be in these setups a little longer and more profitably. I just have to continue refining that process. But again, there might not be morning panic bounce plays today. I do have a whole bunch of stocks to trade, breaking news, potential OTC runners, and the other watch list that in theory could run and maybe form another AGGI, ETST in theory. So that's really all I got. I'd like to have morning panic bounce plays, but I'm totally aware of the fact that it just might not be the right market for this. Alright, it is 9:43. I haven't traded anything, but I did try with PBYA, and that was probably the closest I was to getting in a trade. Now it's a sketchy drop, but it did have a panic right from 13.5, the lowest being 11.6, and it was a potential morning panic bounce play. It was 9:35 right here when I tried to place an order at 118, which was like a big seller on the ask. It had like 1 million shares, and it was just being taken out slowly but surely. And it was taken out. I placed the order before it was taken out, but it's like they held all the orders and then just raised the bid and the ask. Not the best volume, but that's what they did. They just raised the bid and the ask, so then it had like a big spike, and that means it's not going to get any of my money. FERN was very similar too. I wasn't able to place an order because I saw it a bit later. I saw in the other watch list that this thing had like a nice number of trades on the day, and yeah, it's having its move. I mean, it's trying to come back again. It almost looks like a head and shoulders. Anyway, I did in theory consider it at 205, but again, it just had like this thing where the bid and the ask was just lifted again very high, and it's continuing an uptrend. I don't mind missing this one, and I don't mind missing PBY because they decide to lift the bid and the ask. Maybe if I was quicker, I could have been executed, especially with PBYA, but I don't mind that too much. Again, it was just because of the fact that they just lifted the bid and the ask. It's just not, I guess, not much volume on those type of OTCs for a setup to play out very nicely like it has before. I'm watching CEI not because I'm really interested in it, but you know, some people are short this stock and I just want to see how they trade this thing to learn from it. Geez, some people are risking, you know, it going, you know, like towards its high of day, which would in theory be this 150 level. It's trying to bounce back. It's a sketchy, you know, choppy listed stock that's had this nice uptrend, so it's just something to watch there. ILUS in theory, if it tries to break past this level, it might be interesting, but it is kind of sketchy because it's way at its highs. ISWH as well, if it kind of breaks out of its high again. I've seen stuff like that work before. HALB was up because it had news, but it doesn't look that nice anymore. At no point was I really interested in it, but it was looking nice in the beginning. This one didn't look as strong as the other OTC sub-penny runners I've seen before. I did not consider it for a dip towards VWAP because it just was a bit too close to the VWAP level. I like it when it's really far away from the VWAP level, and this wasn't really the case. I'll keep looking for more setups, but I have no trades at the moment. Alright, it is 9:52. I want to make an update, just a quick update. Kind of disappointing. I had a trade here with ILUS and my entry was 950, which was right here. This breakout candle at 16.19 was my entry. Why? Because it looked like there was starting to be a lot of people on the bid supporting it. You know, this has been the breakout level at 16.2. That was the ideal top that needs to be broken, so I got in at 950 once again because there was a lot of support on the bid. It looks like maybe it was going to try to hold and push it forward, and it absolutely did that. And like a chicken, I sold at 16.3 the next minute at 151. I'm kind of disappointed with myself. I kind of forgot the whole strategy behind my sell was like right here. I forgot the whole strategy behind selling once a red candle is formed, and that was my fault. It is at 16.8, and I would have again made very little because I did trade a tiny, you know, $100 in theory position. I didn't try to do anything large, but yeah, this is something that could have been very nice. I would, if I followed my rules, I would still be in this trade, but I would be considering selling if this thing closes red, and I need to not care about the bid and the ask anymore, because even though there was a lot of, I'd probably be selling now, and there was a lot of people sure on the ask selling, which is what got me out of the trade. And you know, it did show that, you know, there was going to be a lot of resistance. It still got as high as 16.9, which was pretty impressive. I'd be out of the trade now in the 16.79 level right here, or 16.75, which is the bid, and it can continue the uptrend. But I would have gotten a lot more. I would have been a lot more profitable. I shouldn't have been that scared trading such a small position size. I should have went for that first red candle rule. Just completely forgot. I completely forgot about it, and that was totally my bad. I'll keep watching to see. You know, I might try to hold some kind of level and continue an uptrend some more. But in theory, that would be my trade right there, and that would have been pretty nice, even with the small size that I took. I just need to consider that red candle rule. I shouldn't have, you know, made such a dumb mistake. But at least there's another reason why I should continue to follow that rule, because it seems like it's something that works. Alright, it is 10:41 a.m. and I did watch this a little bit. In theory, I could have been in at 162, but there was a 40,000 share seller at 168, and I didn't really think this thing, was gonna do that well if that was the case. But no, somebody just ate the person right there at 168, which is pretty impressive. In theory I would have been at 162, but I don't know how much higher this thing could go. I would have to follow that freaking red candle rule and not be such a freaking scaredy cat. I'll make an update to see what this thing does eventually. I haven't actually been looking at the stocks too much. CEI is coming back. Somebody had a price target to cover at 125. If they didn't do that, they're probably not very happy right now, but it's still under the day high. It has a big wick here. Who knows what this one can do? ISWH, yeah, it's back at 165, but still. It was impressive. Somebody just took out the person right there at the ask. This one, it doesn't really trade with nice volume, but that was kind of funny to look at. And VWAP is downtrending, which isn't really nice. ILUS keeps going. I really wouldn't mind, if I were to have sold again at maybe 1675 or something like that. Even though now it's at 1790, I just feel like a complete dumbass because I didn't, I just chickened out. I just completely forgot that rule of selling at the first red candle. That was completely dumb. I didn't even trade a lot. Maybe if I was trading like a $1,600 position instead of my, instead of trading a $161 position, maybe if I traded $1,600 position, maybe that would have been okay. That makes more sense. It was just being a little scaredy cat because I was trading larger, but that was completely dumb. I didn't see this. Maybe I would have considered this. This would have been like a head and shoulders failure. So shoulder, head, shoulder, and then it fails, it breaks out. It might have been kind of hard, but maybe when it was putting up this range here at 17.4, that could have been something to trade off of. And now it's at 17.95 at its highest. No, I did touch 18. So this thing could keep doing whatever it wants. Maybe in theory if I was in, I would have sold right here because we had that red candle. Because it did do an uptrend first and then it had that red candle. Right? But still, I could have tried something just to get some practice. I did trade something else. Something that has been grabbing my attention, which is why I haven't really been looking at the listed stocks that much. I did do a crypto trade. This was a day trade in and out. And this is like my section here where I keep track of my crypto trades. Obviously I don't have just one trade. I have more, but I'm just showing this one because this is the one I just traded. And this was alerted from the breakouts and breakdowns chat room, and my trade was this right here. So what is this run up? Litecoin here had this crazy run up because Walmart is in an agreement with Litecoin to start accepting just purchases with Litecoin. Maybe Walmart looks at Litecoin as something very stable, something that holds its price very well, I guess. I honestly don't know, but they picked Litecoin. It had this crazy run up. I didn't trade any of this. I didn't know this was a thing. When I had that alert, right? I think I saw it around here, but anyway, this was a crazy move. So before the nice run up, right, it's trading at 175. The thing goes all the way to 236 at its high. It starts getting sold off for whatever reason. Maybe just people are panicking. Look at all the volume here, just absolute craziness. So the idea was that, okay, and it still might be a good setup, right? Right now it's at 177, but it almost is like it just had this amazing news come out that is partnered with Walmart, and then it kind of gets this level, right? It gets really high, and then it gets right at its freaking level before the news came out with Walmart. This is Walmart. It's not like some little baby company or something, like small. This is like a big, a pretty big retailer. So that was the idea behind my dip buy, and my entry was, I probably should find the time, but I was in at 180, and I did trade a $900 position. Don't fucking ask me why I can trade a large size on crypto and then on stocks I just freaking can't. But I was in at 180. It traded with a lot of volatility, and I got out at 182. I'll actually come back and see what time I got in and out, because I think that's gonna matter a lot. Alright, I have the time right here. It actually doesn't really tell you on the website, at least right here. But anyway, let me just look at my phone. It looks like my order went in at 1021, which was right here at 180. 180 flat was my entry here. And, you know, I thought, okay, this thing, you know, crazy spike, drop, you know, let's go for a dip buy. It did do one previously here. It did get from this, 179 level to 191. It's obviously trading with a lot more volatility than it has before. It had like $1.31 spread about the majority of the time. But yeah, my entry was here at 1021. 179 looks like it was the bottom, and I got in at 180, and then I sold. I had two sells. One was 1024, and that was right here. I just did not like this red candle. It just kind of threw me off, because I wanted it to be like a higher low off of the wick, but instead it was a double bottom. But yeah, I sold at 1024 at what was it, 182. 1024, 182, which was near the top in this one. So again, I was in at here. I got out here at 182, and this was most of it. I did have just a tiny piece. For whatever reason, the entire amount wasn't sold at once. Just a tiny piece was left over, just $3 right here, and I sold that at oh, I see. So yeah, there were two sales. One at 1024, 1025. So this is the one. Yeah, 1024 was the majority of my sell, and then 1025 is where I sold this tiny piece at 182.67. So I had one sell here, just a tiny amount, 182.67, and then you know, 1024 was the other part. And my entry was at 1021, and it's still now in the 179s. It's probably going to have a lot more volatility, but yeah, it's just not really bouncing. So in theory, it could have done something nice. It did do this price action here, right? But this is the most it's gonna do. If I had to guess, this thing is just gonna be higher in the future, because it just had these Walmart news. You know, how is it trading at 179 with Walmart news, and then the thing is at, you know, 175 before the news? Is like $5 all it can do? It did get as high as, again, 236. So if I had to guess, this thing could be something for a long term, but I might not trade it. It could be something where I can trade maybe a smaller size and hold for several days. But yeah, I just want to make that update there. Just I won't include this in how much I made today, because it's, you know, it's just a stock trading account, not really crypto. But just a tiny trade there. I did make a puny $4 because of commissions. You can't get away from commissions with crypto stocks. At least no brokers that I know can let you trade without commissions. So that's all I got for right now. Alright, it is 10:53, just maybe a minute later. I went back to look at the news again after my trade, and it looks like the news was fake. So that's probably why this thing happened. It might be higher from its original price before this fake news came out, just because some people are probably bag holders at this point. That really sucks. That's why you trade off of price action, not off of news, because had I have just bag held my, like, it still would have been break even. That's, I guess, the good thing about my entry. But anybody who just freaking got in here and saw it wasn't holding, and then I probably would have considered getting out if it would have broken this 217 level. Actually, maybe 220, because that's more of a solid number. That sucks for anybody who just got bag held into this news are just coming out now that the thing was fake, but at the moment you don't know that. That's pretty crazy. I guess that's why this thing isn't really bouncing that well. It could still do something, but it's just less likely, obviously, because the news isn't really real. That's all I got for right now. Alright, it is 4:20 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. I've been working on other things and I just came back to do this and finish it up. Really disappointing trade, really, with ILUS. And I think part of the problem with what I'm doing is that I am too busy thinking about the amount of dollars that I trade instead of maybe if I were to trade based off of a risk level, how much I would lose. The issue here with ILUS, for example, right? I was doing just $100 position. It's very easy to just take out a zero and trade that size and to mess around and try doing something else. So my entry and exit was, my entry was fine. My exit was horrible. This is a small position, $184, and let's go back to the level which was 162. Right, 162, and even if I were to have somehow sold maybe at the bottom here, or maybe at the highs, which was what, the highest is 20.17, so right, I make 40 bucks, and it's just such a tiny position size, and even though that is a huge percent gain from 16 to 20, right, I think that's a 25% gain, give or take. I'm just not able to really okay, first of all, high day setups, I probably should focus on what type of stock it is in terms of how it's trading. When it did that breakout right here when I got in, really good entry, but horrible exit. I need to consider how it's breaking out. Now in this case it would have been fine if I were to have sold at this level right here, because we have a red candle formed, and before the red candle was formed it was having this very classic, very scary, just big green candle, price action, green candle, green candle, green candle, and then a huge one, right? So then when a red candle is formed, I don't see the problem with selling there. Sure, it got to 20, but nobody really knows how far these things can go. It's not like we're looking at this the way it is now and we go back in time, okay, let's hold on to this. No, that's not the setup at all. Now, what I could do is maybe when it makes a bottom, right, okay, it's lower, not lower, it's higher than this level right here. I can risk, this bottom breaking. It has an uptrend. It makes another low, but it's higher than here, and then I can try to hold for something longer. I can totally do something like that. It would help me hold in the trade longer. It would also expose me to more risk, like maybe it makes a lower low, or it goes back to the level and I'm salty because I sold for break even. I could try a whole bunch of things, but what I'm doing isn't really that good. Just immediately selling just because I see a bunch of people on the ask. If it's going to break out, it's clearly going to be, in a setup that works out, a lot of buying action. And it's going to knock out the people on the ask, which is exactly what happened here. The second thing I need to think of is, risk reward. I need to think more of what am I risking in terms of, what am I trading. So again, let's just go back to 162, which was where I got in. Right, 162, and I could risk, this level breaking. This would make sense if it were to have broken the wick here at 1587. So let's just see what that would be. Right, I'm risking $4. Like that's fine, I guess, but I could try risking at least $5 or $10. Maybe not 20. I don't think I'm ready for that. Or if I want to be a little stingy, I could risk this 1598, right? And that would be risking $3. So then maybe I go slightly larger. All that I'm saying is that I probably need to stop thinking about what I trade in terms of position size, but instead of that, think about the risk level. Because then if I think, okay, $5, all right, that's a small number, but 159, I mean, nobody wants to lose $159, right? And I also need to understand that it's pretty much impossible Not completely, but it's pretty close to impossible that it just goes to zero. So I mean, unless it just gets halted, right, and then it opens, or we get another freaking what was that one, NSAV, that just has that horrible news. I'm not holding these things overnight. Very low chance of it getting halted. We haven't seen OTCs get halted in a long time, you know, for something bad or sketchy. I need to just take that thing into consideration, really push myself to trade a larger size and not be so scared. Now the good thing is that I tried with PBYA, which wasn't right, it wasn't the best, but it did do a morning panic bounce play, and I was trying to get in at 118, or what was it? Yeah, 118, and that was 40,000 shares. So let's see what that would have been. And I was going with 40,000, yep, 40,000 shares. So I'm clearly pushing myself to trade larger positions on morning panic bounce plays because I am pretty comfortable trading those. But I need to push myself also with higher day breakouts, or at minimum, not freaking like sell just because it looks scary, but to sell when either it breaks my risk level or it has a red candle after an uptrend is formed. So I need to take those things into consideration. PHIO kind of did this nice uptrend, as well as ILUS. I probably should have had an alert maybe to go off. I could have been in, maybe risking off of this 1930 level when it started to form that, you know, solid looking ceiling, when it starts to look a little more clean. It tried here, it kind of failed, but once we started to hold this level here, I don't see why I couldn't have been in something like this. And it did have a big green candle. Maybe I would have sold at that red candle. Maybe I should just take into consideration a lot of these continue and put up at least a higher low from the initial breakout level, and then I can sell into the top of that. Or if it breaks that higher low, I could do that too, and that would help me maybe sell at a much better price. You know, in theory, maybe in at 1962, right? And then it has this higher low right here, makes a higher high. Maybe I try selling here because I'm scared, or maybe here because it does a double bottom, so I sell at 1985. It's just a lot of things I need to keep working on, tweaking, you know, just taking new things into consideration, seeing what works best. Clearly, I have a lot of room for improvement. I never considered PHIO because this one was a lot closer to VWAP than ILUS. I would have considered this one more than any of the other ones for a breakout setup. I did see this drop here, but it was all weird, and it looks like it went even lower afterwards. CEI did finish down 8%, but yeah, clearly that was a good price target at 125 when it did that, because it came back. And just to go over my Litecoin trade, that was my trade here around 1041-ish, I believe, right? Yeah, I think it was this one. I'm not extremely sure anymore. It turns out the news was fake. Walmart went out of their way to say, hey, this thing is not true. Very crazy. Absolutely crazy. No wonder this thing, you know, I understood maybe it had an agreement with Walmart. It gets as high as it did, and then people are just buying because everyone else is buying, and then selling once they see it's not going up anymore. Everyone freaks out, and then it gets right above, just slightly above the price it was before. So then you think, all right, well, there's a good chance it can do another bounce. The bounce didn't happen. I didn't like the price action. I got out for that reason, and that was a really good trade, especially compared to ILUS. I still made something here, even with commissions, right? And I did trade a larger size. Let's try to apply something like that more with day trading stocks. So just probably need to stop being so scared. That's all I got. I'm going to call it off right here. I guess 2 trades, but 1, you know, stock trade. I have to get better at a lot of things, and I really look forward to rewatching this.